Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for Troy versus Troy the Director's Cut. So, with this one, I'm not so much reviewing Troy or Troy the Director's Cut, so much as which one you should watch. So, I really enjoy the movie Troy. I've watched it a bunch of times, and I've seen the Director's Cut a couple times, so I decided that I was going to watch Troy and Troy the Director's Cut in the same day, and I did. So, it's about 30 to 40 minutes longer with the director's cut than with the original theatrical run. And some of the main differences are that the opening scene, instead of just like getting basically right to the battle where, Agamemnon's like, Achilles! And then he's like, where the fuck is Achilles? Before you get to that, there's this, I know it probably wasn't 2 minutes, but I swear to God it felt like 2 minutes of like just following this dog as it's running through the camp and going through the fields and going up to like finding some dead big guy and going to the next thing and just taking forever. And then eventually he gets to where you see the battle about to take place. And then they basically use an alternate cut for where Agamemnon is saying, instead of just being like, I don't want to watch another slaughter. Instead, they use another cut showing that basically these two armies had fought yesterday. And that's part of why he was saying, like, I don't want to see another slaughter. Like, hey, they fought yesterday. That's part of why you saw the dead body of the dog. And now they're having this. And so that was a big one. And there was another part, later, spoiler alerts for kind of some of the spoiler alerts. Just spoiler alerts for this. So the dog, again, I don't know if it's the same dog or just a different dog, but like you see the dog on the beaches of Troy area, and they're like, and it follows it up, and he like licks away one of the supposed sores of plague that were on the dead bodies that the Greeks or whatever left. And so you're like, oh, that wasn't actually a plague. It was something, else on there that dog didn't mind eating. And then like he goes up to the top of the cliff area, and then that's essentially where you see where the Greeks are all hiding out. And then I'm going to call him a scout, then gets killed by the arrows again. So once the dog reaches the top, then it kind of goes to where you see from the theatrical cut. And then Ajax, who's the really big guy who, eventually died. He was like, he ran up to Achilles and was like, oh, it's an honor to, fight with you. And then he ran back in his own thing. So that guy, he gets several more lines, mostly while like fighting. I'm not saying they were poorly delivered, but they were unnecessarily like delivered. They just, you didn't need that. You didn't like, yeah. And then the other big thing was there were a couple more things that seemed to be inserted to make Eric Bana's character, the older brother, not seem as like just totally disbelieving in gods. Like he seemed to have a little bit more respect for them. And then also for the dad character of the Trojans, for him to have I felt like in the theatrical cut, he seemed like just an idiot who was just throwing their whole lives away and like staking everything on ridiculousness. But in the director's cut, his decisions based on his belief in the gods and the signs that he was seeing and that his advisors were seeing and like how they seemed to match up, it made him seem a lot more logical in his belief in the gods, if that makes any sense. So, pretty much that was the only part that I thought was worth it. But the thing is that you're like, okay, so those were basically all the changes, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's basically all the changes. So then how the fuck do you get 30 to 40 minutes out of that? And I can tell you that you don't. It's just, the rest of it just seems like there's just like a little bit longer on, say, like each battle scene. They just add like a couple of extra cuts. I think one of the Ajax sections, they reused a couple cuts really close to each other, which I was like, I hope that's just because the director couldn't find the old cuts that they were trying to insert. But the thing is that they did not need those extra 30 to 40 minutes, especially the two with the dog. It was just such a waste. And it really seemed like, I guess there was also like a little extra scene with Agamemnon after they had like lost their initial battle, and he's just like, I haven't touched the girl. Like there's a little bit more to that scene that kind of changes the flavor of it. But really, for the most part, that 30 to 40 minute section, it just seems like it was sloppier editing. Like this is one of the few times where I think that you should watch the theatrical cut because it is better. It's a tighter cut where instead of having like, okay, that went on a little too long, or that, like, imagine if you're watching a Jeremy Jahns video without jump cuts, like where he's just without any cuts and it's just him talking the whole way through. Like, it would still be good because it's Jeremy Jahns, but it's not as tight and as well edited as you're used to with him. And so with Troy, the director's cut, it adds more length without really adding any substance to it. Like, there are other director's cut where you're like, yes, I was missing that whole action scene right there and that other thing there. Like, there's director's cuts which explain things. Like Batman v Superman, you have to watch the director's cut because the theatrical is garbage. But with this one, the theatrical cut, I think, is the superior cut because it is more judicious with the editing to get it down to what is necessary and to keep the pacing better, and you shave off 30 to 40 minutes without really feeling like you lost anything at all. So that's kind of where, that's basically what I have for you in terms of theatrical versus director's cut. But overall, excellent movie. Like, the sets are amazing, the colors, the pacing, the characters, the acting. I mean, you have really great actors in there. You have Brad Pitt, you have Sean Bean, you have you have his cousin, the guy who plays Brad Pitt's cousin, and I'm forgetting his name right now, but he went on to star in the Tron sequel movie. Like, there's a lot of excellent actors in this, and they just have, yeah, it's just fantastic. So I highly, highly recommend the movie. You're gonna enjoy either version, but it's not necessary for the director's cut. Save your money or whatever else. Just watch the theatrical version if you have it. So that's all I have for this one. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Bye.